what you're doing is conflating and pretending like there are two equal sides. Oh, they've just been fighting for decades. There's always reasons on both sides to start the violence. No, that's not true. There's one side that's an occupying, colonizing force that continuously and violently expels and subjugates and brutalizes and terrorizes the other side.
Welcome back everyone. A Zionist channel which I keep a firm eye on has just released this video. Two American journalists, Abby Martin supporting the Palestinians up against both Piers Morgan and Emily Schrader on the events of October the 7th. The double standards and hypocrisy of both Piers and Emily is off the charts, and Abby did a fantastic job exposing both these gremlins. Let's take a look.
Hamas didn't just grow out of thin air. I mean, it was precipitated by
but what about my question, though?
Decades of brutal occupation and ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, but what about my question?
Whether or not Hamas is genocidal in its intent, I disagree. And Emily's saying, look, Hamas is reacting. They're an armed resistance group trying to fight for their liberation. I'm not justifying anything that they've done. The United States also called Nelson Mandela and the ANC a terrorist organization. I think they're an armed resistance group trying to fight for the liberation of Palestine.
Do you think they're a terrorist organization?
I'm not going to sit here and give an obligatory... Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization,
Of course
Emily?
not.
Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization?
Well, can you answer my question? Do you think Hamas is a terrorist organization?
I already did. Let me explain something to you.
Do you think that the acts committed on October 7th were legitimate? You think that gang rape, that mass rape,
acts that Israel did that precipitated October 7th?
Hang on, look.
Do you think October 6th, 5th, 4th,
Let me ask you the question which has made me infamous, famous, whatever you want to do. But do you condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th?
Before Emily answers that question, Piers was asked this very same question by Low Key about 7 months ago, whether he condemns his employer, Rupert Murdoch, the man whose name was literally written by the hands of Netanyahu himself as a supporter of the Greater Israel cause. Not only does Piers not condemn Mr. Rupert, but he says the opposite, that he highly respects him instead. In fact, here's the clip and we'll continue with the video.
What's it got to do with me?
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch.
Do you condemn Rupert Murdoch?
I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch.
This has never been shown on British media. This is a letter from Netanyahu's political office. And Bridget may well recognise the handwriting of Benjamin Netanyahu here. It is a list of individuals that Netanyahu considered to be funders of his political campaign. There is a name on this list. The name is Rupert Murdoch. Your employer.
You know what, Loki?
It seems he funded Benjamin Netanyahu. That's an issue.
You know what, Loki?
I'm not going to sit here and give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas.
It was a terrorist attack of appalling magnitude.
Of what I think...
Surely on pure humanity grounds.
Piers, listen.
You cannot watch the devastating murder of 1,200 people and not say it was a despicable terror act and condemn the people who did it.
Look, listen, I'm not going to give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas. What I will do is condemn the policies that precipitate violence. What I will do is condemn the roots of the violence, because inevitably you will have blowback when you deny millions of people basic human rights, when they're living under brutal medieval siege and barbaric military occupation, a fascist military occupation in the West Bank. Hamas doesn't govern the West Bank. Look at what Israel has done in the West Bank since October 7th.
You can't condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th.
This is not about Hamas.
Well, it's all about Hamas.
I condemn what will beget violence, inevitably.
What are you talking about?
I'm not going to sit here and condemn Hamas.
The entire war.
I'm sorry?
This entire war has been because of what Hamas did on October the 7th. You can go back in history. You can go back in history and you can find arguments on both sides in the last 70 years. Right, I've had the arguments many times.
No, because what you're doing is...
What am I doing?
He's talking absolute shite. That's what he's doing. 1946 King David Hotel was a terrorist crime committed by Menachem Begin, labeled terrorist, went on to become the Israeli Prime Minister for about 10 years, who later won the Nobel Peace Prize. His successor was also a labeled terrorist. These terrorists then infiltrated into the Israeli government. So terrorists have been within the Israeli government before its inception. Hamas came into existence in 1987. 40 years after being under the rule of Zionist terrorists.
What you're doing is conflating and pretending like there are two equal sides. Oh, they've just been fighting for decades. There's always reasons on both sides to start the violence. No, that's not true. There's one side that's an occupying, colonizing force that continuously and violently expels and subjugates and brutalizes and terrorizes the other side. They are living under the boot of Israeli authorities, whether you're in Gaza and occupied completely militarily by the outside, or whether you're living under a fascist military dictatorship in the West Bank.
So do you, if you believe, okay, so if you believe,
violence.
Okay,
that is the root of the violence. This is 75 years of ethnic cleansing and apartheid.
All right, I hear you. Let me ask you this. If you believe then that Hamas are a armed resistance, as you put it, and they have, presumably then you believe what they did on October the 7th was justified, do you?
I didn't say that. No, absolutely
well,
not. I'm not sitting here justifying anything.
Isn't the logical extension of your argument, if you believe they're an armed resistance and they are they are doing what they're doing because they are responding to acts of terror by another side, surely you would say that what they did was justified. Or if it's not justified, what is it? You either condemn it or you think it's justified. I don't think you can sit in the middle, can you?
Look, I don't need to sit here and give a condemnation of Hamas. I can explain why Hamas exists. I don't have to support what they did. I don't have to justify or rationalize it.
Yes, so violence in the face of rape as a
person who studies history
is complicity.
You can sit as a person who studies history. Emily, you're doing the exact same thing and you're projecting it on me. Okay, so do you condemn the actions of Israel for killing 13,000 children?
I don't accept that 13,000 children have been killed. That hasn't anything that's been verified.
This is the problem.
But it depends on the context of what's happening. Do I condemn certain actions of the state of Israel?
Palestinians their reality.
Do I think Israel is always right?
You're denying Palestinians their reality. This is why Palestinians have to show their dead kids on camera.
Piers has been sitting on the fence for the last 18 months. Emily is just another paid Zionist. How can you not accept tens of thousands of children being killed? Even if you don't accept the number, we know for a fact that children have been killed or slaughtered on a regular basis. Does she condemn that? What's the point of Piers calling on Israelis to debate, to only speak on their behalf? Literally, I have no idea what benefit Emily has in this debate. She barely said more than a few sentences.
Do I think everything Israel has done, even in this war, is correct? No. There's no problem with saying that.
What has been wrong? What have they done?
I already said the same thing about Hamas. Hang on, Abby. I already said the same thing about Hamas.
Emily, tell me what Israel's done that's wrong in your eyes.
I think that there should have been a priority from the beginning in order to plan a safe evacuation route before they implemented a military plan. I think that everything has been done too late.
Okay. Abby, what would you say Hamas have done wrong?
Again, I'm not going to sit up here. I don't even know really what happened.
You can't find anything.
How hard is it to condemn rape?
You can't find anything to say they did that was wrong?
All of the lies that have been perpetrated. Look, Hamas killing civilians, I'm sure atrocities were committed on both sides on October 7th. I'm
on
sure
October 7th, atrocities were committed.
I don't know how many civilians were killed by Israel. Emily, I can't even hear myself talk because you just can't stop talking.
Let Abby speak.
There's so many lies that were put out by Israeli authorities that it's really hard to parse through. Look, I mean, we don't know how many civilians were killed in the crossfire by Israeli soldiers enlisting the Hannibal Directive. So, look, the mass rape, the beheaded babies, the ripping the babies out of pregnant women's stomachs. I mean, all of these things are such egregious lies that I really just can't sit up here and condemn things that I don't even know what happened.
What about the atrocities which Hamas recorded and filmed themselves and then posted to the world to brazenly boast about what they were doing? What about that?
Look, nothing that Hamas did on October 7th compares to what Israel has done in response.
No, I'm asking you a direct question about the fact that they boasted about the mass murder they were committing.
You guys just make it all about October 7th, and that's what I'm saying. It all pales in comparison, Piers.
But if you can't condemn anything Hamas has done,
that happened, I already said.
You haven't condemned them.
Killing civilians is wrong.
So what
Killing
they did,
civilians is wrong.
So what Hamas did on October 7th was wrong.
What does that make what Israel has done?
Hang on, I'm trying to unpick your argument. So if it's wrong to kill civilians, were Hamas wrong to do what they did on October the 7th, given how many civilians were brutally murdered?
Are you doing the same thing to Emily? And if not,
just asking, do you think it was wrong?
Why are you not sitting her?
Do you think it was wrong?
Is it wrong to kill 13,000
Why can't you answer a simple question?
Is it wrong to kill 100? I already said it. I already said it, Piers.
Was it wrong?
I'm not going to sit here. You're basically comparing Hamas to Israel.
No, I'm not comparing anything. You
really
said just now,
yes,
unless I'm mistaken, you just said to me that the killing of innocent civilians is wrong. I then asked you, fairly self-evidently, I think, the question, that in that case, given that Hamas showed us on tape killing civilians, innocent civilians, on October the 7th, do you accept that was wrong? Yes or no?
You saw the tape?
Yeah, they showed us.
You saw the tape of them killing innocent civilians?
Yes, they literally broadcast it to the world. Yes, we all did.
And so do Israeli soldiers.
Fine,
in a
why can't you
fashion.
forget
it's
Israel
like watching,
for a moment?
It's like watching.
Forget Israel for a moment.
It's like watching Nazis.
If it's wrong to kill innocent civilians, Abby,
on social media.
Piers is asking Abby to condemn Hamas. She doesn't, but also makes it clear that killing innocents is wrong. Piers, unlike Abby, refuses to condemn his employer, someone who has an invested interest in this genocide. Emily is just a waste of space and has nothing useful to add. We need to understand this, and this is something Francesca Albanese answered very well to the Western world. We've been sold a story that a terrorist group infiltrated another state and killed civilians. The actual story is a state known as Israel, ran by convicted terrorists, subjugated the Palestinians to unimaginable horrors for 7 decades. A group decides to fight back. They are labeled as a terrorist group by the West. So when something like October the 7th happens, it's a result of 70 years of occupation. I hope that makes sense. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.